Hey y'all, new day, new verse. Today we are finishing off chapter 8 of Matthew. Here we go. When Jesus arrived on the other side of the lake in the region of Galilee, two men who were possessed by demons met him. They came out of the tombs and were so violent no one could go through the area. They began screaming at him, "Why are you interfering with us, Son of God? Have you come here to torture us before God's appointed time?" There happened to be a large herd of pigs feeding in the distance. So the demons begged, "If you cast us out, send us into the herd of pigs." "All right, go," Jesus commanded them. So the demons came out of the man and entered the pigs. The whole herd plunged down the steep hillside into the lake and drowned in the water. The herdsmen fled to the nearby town, telling everyone what happened to the demon-possessed man. Then the entire town came out to meet Jesus, but they begged him to go away and leave him alone. Normally I don't pull from other books because, these can stand on their own. I want to take this story as it's told from Mark's perspective, though, to add a little. Because Mark's gospel is written from Peter's account. And the reason I want to take from his gospel is to get to the core of the idea that I think Matthew is trying to present here. Who, by his own accounts, wasn't there, so he probably isn't going to get all the information right. But the idea he's trying to convey is. The prophecy of the Messiah is that the blind will see, the deaf will hear, the dead will live again. That he came to set the captive free. And later, in Matthew, we're going to see from John, the one who said at the beginning of Matthew, at the beginning of Jesus' teaching, that this one is the Son of God. Later, John, in prison, will ask, "Well, are you the one we've been waiting for? Are you the Messiah?" And I think this is a question that he asks, and it's something that Matthew is trying to answer before the question is asked, about what it looks like to truly be a captive set free. Because, strictly speaking, every single disciple either ended up imprisoned or dead. John, for his part of writing the letter of the Apocalypse, did so because he was imprisoned on the island of Patmos. Most of Paul's letters, the majority of the New Testament, was written from inside prisons. So it does beg that bit of a question. Okay, so how is the captive being set free? And that's where I want to dig in a little today, to talk about Matthew's account of this. And then we're going to discuss this idea a bit clearer, because Mark's account, my apologies, says that instead of being two men, there was one. And if you want to read this for yourself, it's Matthew chapter 5, verses 1 through 20. But throughout it, instead of being two men, there's one. And this man is possessed by so many demons that when Jesus asks the entity's name, it says Legion, for we are many, for there are many of us here. And I think that's the core of what to talk about here. Because at the very end of it, when the demons go into the pigs, and the 2,000 pigs, by Mark's account, go plunging into into the lake, in a deep hillside down into the lake and drowned. When Jesus was asked to leave by the town, the one set free begged to go with. And instead Jesus said, "No, stay here. Go home to your family and tell them everything the Lord has done for you and how merciful he has been." So his very life, the freedom that he has been given, becomes the testimony of God's great grace. And I think that is the core here about discussing the prisoner being set free. Because it's not about the physical chains. Paul wore them, John wore them, Peter, well, really everybody but Judas, and he hung himself. So all of these different disciples, they end up wearing prison bracelets according to the world standards. But Jesus came to set the prisoner free. To me, it seems to add up that the Messiah frees us from true captivity. The captivity like Legion spirits, where there is so much oppressing us, so much trying to break us at any given moment, internally, externally, everywhere we go, that we can barely breathe. This is the freedom that God is talking about. Freedom from that. Freedom from being terrified of the alcoholicness in one's family or the anger in one's predecessors. Freedom from generational bondage to drug dependency or gambling addiction. Freedom from wrathfulness, from laziness, from a spirit of lust that drive and need to look at pornography. That I don't want to do this, but I can't help doing it. It's like something is making me do it. That kind of bondage. That is where the prisoner is set free. And I think that's why Matthew put the excerpt of this story in the way he did and where he did. Because by Matthew's own admission, we see him being called later, next chapter actually. But throughout the entire chapter, he's been pointing out the fact that Jesus is the answer to that Isaiah prophecy. The God is moving to heal the blind, the deaf, raise the dead, and here, setting captives free. Because this man who was possessed by Legion was able to talk about the freedom that God gives. Freedom from uncontrolled behavior, like something is taking over you. Because anyone who's been there, who's been truly demon-possessed, we don't necessarily talk about it in Western society. It's all a little too spiritual for us. But anyone who's been under that kind of yoke of slavery, that kind of bondage to an entity like that, a spirit of lust, a spirit of wrath, a spirit of, pick 'em, knows that there are moments where you're like, I don't want to do this. I don't know why I'm doing this. Please, something make me stop doing this. But we continue, and we can't help it. Now, there's a Christian song that goes, I can, but I don't. I want to, but I won't. And I do what I don't want to. I do what I don't mean to, and I'm confused. Because it is that needing to continually be set free. And when the Son sets us free, we are free indeed. It is learning to walk in that freedom. It is learning to walk into that place of life. Learning to walk into that new freedom given to us by the only one who can. And it's interesting as we continue that we will see God moving continually in this. In fact, the first section as we pick up tomorrow's chapter 9 is Jesus healing the paralyzed, the lame walk. So I think when going through this, especially when having those moments where the texts don't always line up, think about the idea there. Because true bondage is way more important than what's happening to your body. Jesus himself says that it is Gentiles who worry and non-believers who worry about clothes, what's on their body. Well, bracelets, whether they be attached or put there of our own volition, are that same idea, what's on the body. Jesus came to set a different kind of chain loose. He does offer, take up my burdens, for my yoke is easy, my burden's few, take up my way. You have the option. We can be focused on the bindings that this world tries to throw on us and the bindings that the enemy of this world tries to throw on us. Or we can be led free by our Master Jesus out of this cave and place of darkness to see the true light. Set free into new life. Where those struggles, where those moments of, I don't want to be this anymore, are finally done away with. Where we're no longer worried about being a thing, an object of emotion or want, tendency or gratification, self-gratification, and become a people that truly wish to know what freedom is. Freedom of the Lord. Freedom to know that in all things we can trust His grace is sufficient. Freedom to know that as we walk out, we need not fear anything coming back in because the Lord is filling those places. And I know of where I speak. I know this entity Legion intimately, if I'm honest, brutally honest, and know what it looks like. I also know that when the Lord gives freedom, true freedom, and whom he sets free is free, then it is a place of life and growth and hope. A place where the storms may come, but you can sleep in the boat. A place where walking on water seems quite simple because you can run on air. That's the invitation we're given by our Lord. The one who lets blind eyes see, who lets deaf ears hear, who lets lame lives live again. To get up, get moving, to truly live, and to be free. Free to rejoice, free to sing, free to love. Agape love that says others deserve dignity and love and mercy and kindness and grace because they are an image bearer, alive like me. That is the grace we are given. The grace of God who is more than enough, more than sufficient, more than we could ask or imagine. That freedom is there. Ask and you'll receive. Knock on his door and it shall be open. Seek him and you'll find him. All you got to do is ask. So ask. I can't wait to dig into chapter 9 with you guys tomorrow as we start in on Jesus healing a paralyzed man, truly keeping to the Isaiah promise of the Messiah who saves us all. I'll see you guys then. May his favor be upon you. And know that you are loved by a love far greater than any of us can know.